The largest city in the Quebec province is Montreal, considered the cultural capital of Canada, with a contemporary cityscape. Cosmopolitan, with architecturally grand buildings and cobbled streets, quaint boutiques and cafes. And of course, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Our Ferrari Challenge drivers arrive here in support of Formula One, many having competed just last weekend at a special Ferrari Challenge race at Le Mans in France, ahead of the 100th centenary of the Le Mans 24 Hours, where Ferrari was victorious with the hypercar. As we reach the halfway point in our Ferrari Challenge North America season for 2023, great racing awaits. Welcome to Montreal. Hello everyone, I just wish that we could have brought some better weather for you, but here we are for round 4 of our Ferrari Challenge North America season. We've been to Miami, to Texas, to Road Atlanta, and here we are in Montreal then, and as if proof to say what I was saying was absolutely pinpoint accurate, there indeed is our calendar. We're here in Montreal, of course, supporting Formula One with the Ferrari Challenge North America series, and this is where the circuit is located. Please follow us on @Ferrari Races. We would love you to be part of our social media family. Come and join the fantastic prancing horse family. We would love you to do that. So Montreal then, as always, the weather is somewhat unpredictable. And as you can see, we're having this rotten weather at the moment. 4.36 kilometres, the Montreal circuit. There's some 14 turns, 6 of them left, 8 of them are right-handers. And it's a real test for our drivers, particularly in the conditions that we have here at the moment. But that's what we've got, and that's what we'll live with, of course. Unique to the Ferrari Challenge is the fact that all of our categories will be out qualifying at the same time. 2 races to come over the course of this weekend and 2 qualifying sessions as well. And this is the first of the qualifying sessions. As you can see, the air temperature is 14 degrees, track temperature 16 degrees, and about 10 kilometres per hour of wind as the cars make their way out onto the 4.361 kilometre track then for the first qualifying session. We have our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, Copichelle and Copichelle AM drivers, and it's me, Dave, and alongside me as always, Shay Adam, to bring you the action from qualifying. And I have to say, I'm feeling pretty cold and it's miserable out there, but the drivers will still love it come what may, Shay.
Yes, they will, Dave, and good morning to you as well, and welcome to Canada, the land of the Great White North, which right now is a little bit damp, as we see evidenced by the full course yellow that is being displayed. In other words, these drivers getting out to take to the circuit for the first time today for their first qualifying session, taking it a little bit easy, just being warned, hey, the track conditions are very different from yesterday when you were last out. Yesterday it was rain of bugs, if you will. The flies were out, as happens in Canada in June. Today it's rain of raindrops, and this man on screen right now, Dave Musial 2.0, he was the guy to beat in both of the practice sessions, Dave. He set the fastest times.
Yes, it was to his liking. I wonder whether the conditions may see a different run of order today. It's just me trying to be provocative because we've got no way of knowing. But yes, we will see how the drivers cope with these conditions, which are really, truly not very pleasant at all. But I love the livery on the 488 Challenge Evo of Dave Musial 2.0, the Ferrari Lake Forest driver who, perhaps surprisingly for me, coming into our 2023 season, he's not yet been on the top step of the podium, Shay.
Completely agree, and I think if any were a place for Dave Musial to take advantage of that, it is here, because last year in the Trofeo Pirelli AM category, he finished second and first, eventually going on to win that division of the championship, as has been his pattern for the past years going through. He won Copichelle in 2021, again with 3 victories. He was second in Shell AM in 2020, but this is a man who has become very accustomed to being on the top step of the Ferrari Challenge Championship. So making the step up to Trofeo Pirelli for this year, that was a big jump for the man who 3 years ago was running in the lowest category, but he's more than capable, and the speed and the racecraft have been there, just not the results yet.
Yes, and I think the yet is exactly the right word to use. He's one of those drivers that is perhaps a, you know, he's very considered, he's very quiet, but he's actually a lovely guy when you get to know him. But when the crash helmet goes on, of course, he is a force to be reckoned with. And we'll see how he copes with these conditions right now. So Dave Musial Jr., one of the cars out there, of course, all the drivers will be qualifying together. We have 2 qualifying sessions to come ahead of a race today. Now, the reason we have 2 qualifying sessions today is qualifying 1 will set the grid for race 1 to come a little bit later today. And then, of course, qualifying 2 will set the grid for race 2, which will be tomorrow. So we keep our eyes on Dave Musial Jr., Ferrari Lake Forest, and first meaningful time, perhaps, Shay, that we're going to see.
I would completely agree with that, and the meaningful time comes into play because now the course is full green. So they kept it yellow for that out lap, the sighting lap, if you will, and now the drivers are able to actually push because they know where the puddles are. Now we are full green, and this lap a bit botched by 2.0, not by any fault of his own, but by traffic.
And that is something that every driver is going to have to contend with. Not only challenging conditions, but of course the track will be very busy as well. So it's like carving your way through the eye of a needle. And you can see Dave getting awfully close to the wall there. In so doing, there's a lot of cars, Shay.
Oh gosh, and people are not respecting the faster cars coming through. Typically, the rule in multi-class racing, and keep in mind this is multi-class racing, just all the cars are the same. The drivers' skill levels dictate what category they participate in. But the rule is you hold your line as a driver in a slower car or slower class because all the cars are capable of doing the same time. It's on the onus of the faster drivers to safely execute the pass. But also, as Carlos de Quesada goes for a spin coming onto the front straight, he just happened to hit a puddle in exactly the wrong spot, but he manages to keep it off the wall. The drivers, though, in that instance, Dave, as we were seeing the traffic stack up, they were not paying any attention to faster cars coming behind, and rather they were trying to make a gap for themselves.
Indeed. So Carlos there proving just how treacherous the conditions are. Let's see this in replay then. And Shay called it exactly right, you did, because he just picked a puddle at the wrong opportune just as he was turning left. And that meant the back end overtook the front end. He did keep it out of the wall. It was a big good and very, very good save. And there, as you can see, perhaps he was not as close to the wall as I thought he was from that previous camera angle. But once you're on the grass, you are but nothing other than a passenger, of course, Shay.
Full props to Carlos for keeping it good there as we are now down below 25 minutes to go, and we do have a couple of lap times that have been set, but nothing really anywhere near where we expected. That was a shot of Tony Davis crossing the line, and he is now second, no, make that third in the Trofeo Pirelli AM class, as ahead of him, oh, and jumping to the top actually, because Tony Davis with the 4 on the side of his car is now indeed in 4th position. Mark Musso, resident Canadian, is currently the fastest in Trofeo Pirelli AM.
Fastest in Trofeo Pirelli is Matt Gajewski, who had a very good time of it last weekend when the Ferrari Challenge was racing in support of the Le Mans 24-hour race. He leads the Pirelli drivers, the Shell drivers being led by Dave Veronin. So you can see the order on the left-hand side of your screen. The boxes to the very left-hand side of the graphics indicate the class that the drivers, or the category that the drivers are driving in. As we watch right now, the car of, as you say, he's dropped down, hasn't he? Tony Davis is now, where are we? I'm looking down the screen. Down to 5th within class. Tony Davis for Continental Autosports then, with a whole pack of cars right behind him. Kajewski leading for Pirelli. For Pirelli AM, it's Mark Musso. For Shell, it's Cameron Root. And for Shell AM, it's Lisa Clark, I think.
I believe you're right, and Justin Rothberg right up the tailpipes as Carlos de Quesada goes for another puddle splash, but this time keeps it pointed in the right direction. Wonderful shots from our cameramen and women out there in the elements. We're lucky to be inside, Dave, but these poor ladies and gentlemen, they're suffering through it. That was Justin Rothberg right up the tailpipes of Tony Davis, leaving him not at inch of quarter trying to make the way around the racetrack. And the guys do have to remember, yes, this is qualifying. The race comes up later.
Yeah, but you know what goes through, you know as well as I do. Jason McCarthy, who's currently second fastest for Wide World Ferrari. You know what goes through the driver's mind? Of course, this is setting the grid, so they want to be as far up the order as they can possibly be, and therefore they're prepared to risk a lot when they're out there qualifying, just to try and find track space and get the best time that they can, which will be advantageous because these conditions are likely to be similar when it comes to the race. So Jason McCarthy then, who is currently, he's some 2 seconds down on our fastest driver, who's Matt Kojewski. You can see the order on the left-hand side of the screen and also the times. The best time we've seen, a 1:52.697. Really impressed with Justin Rothberg, as you said, though, for a Pirelli Am driver. He's currently 4th fastest overall, first within class. But we continue to watch the wide world Ferrari driver of Jason McCarthy, then, who's trying to vault the 1:52.697. And we're getting closer to seeing exactly, as a round has gone, the 112 car of Michael Luley. Who else was involved in that? It's
Cameron Root.
It is Cameron.
Oh, no, that's our championship leader in the Copa Shell class, Dave. That's terrible for Cameron. Hopefully there's no damage to his car as he is able to continue and drive back into the pit lane. That's the turn right before the famous Wall of Champions as well. It didn't claim anyone this time, but Mike Luley and Cameron Root did get together.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, we were expecting drama when Shay and I made our way up to our, may I say, very opulent and comfortable commentary position, i.e. in that it's dry, as we see. Well, that was Cameron on the inside of Mike Luley there. So Mike was completely innocent there. You know, he was going about his business, and Cameron was just perhaps a bit ambitious, and maybe the gap wasn't as big as he thought it was. And in the end, the two cars got together, pirouetted in the rain, and well, hopefully, fingers are crossed that no damage is done. And here we can see it's just so tricky out there. And Dan, who well, he held on to it beautifully, I have to say. I'm sure it was a heart-in-the-mouth moment for him. But that is just proving the more that everyone really pushes, and they're as Martin Burrows we watch right now, what they're doing, Shay, is just seeing just how far they can push, and sometimes it is biting them on the bottom.
Yes, very much so, Dave, and it's something that everyone has to be worried about. For me, I would be a little worried about Cameron Root, not only for his championship lead, given the fact that David Veronin, who is chasing him in points,
yes, there
is quite a good gap, but David has been very strong at this circuit so far this weekend, so David stands to have a good one, but Cameron Root just took out a Canadian. Now, Canadian are very friendly folk, but you do not attack one of our own, or else, you know, things might get a bit perilous.
Right, we'll bear that in mind, and I'll bear that in mind as well. So Frank Szczesniak, incidentally, has just gone to the top of the table for our Shell drivers, and well done to Frank Szczesniak then with a 1:56.817. The top time is still a 1:52.697, which was set by the Ferrari Beverly Hills driver Matt Kojewski. That's not been bettered yet. We still have 18.5 minutes of this qualifying session to come as we're watching the number 46 car of Martin Burrows.
It's a very good point you just made, Dave. We still have 18 minutes. Normally, the qualifying sessions for any Ferrari Challenge competitor are 15 minutes. So right now, they're basically getting an extended practice session, getting more laps out there. Yes, you go out and you set your fastest time and continue to improve upon it as hopefully the weather conditions are playing game as well. But it's still another session.
You're absolutely right. And of course, you know, the drivers are coming into this, and I was discussing this off the air. Ordinarily, you and I, as entertainers, not half as good as the drivers, of course, but nonetheless, we like to bring you the action. We love the short, sharp nature of the normal qualifying session per category, which we get in Ferrari Challenge during the season. The one exception to that is, of course, when we come here in support of Formula One, where it is elongated, but we get every category of driver out there at the same time. So it is a longer session. And, of course, the weather also plays a part, because when it's the short, sharp qualifying session, Shay, everyone is concerned about tyre longevity as well. So if they can go out there and set a fast lap, they'll park the car. As Martin Burrows now gives us our first, forgive me, sub 1:52 time with a 1:51.651. And here comes Matt Kojewski to try and respond to that, because all of a sudden his P1 spot has been right royally taken away by, dare I say it in inverted commas, the local.
Exactly, and Martin Burrows will be grinning from ear to ear, not only at these challenging conditions, but at the fact that he now is provisionally on pole position, his first of the year. 2023 has been very difficult for the driver of Ferrari of Quebec, finishing 10th in 2 of the races and 8th in the other 2 in which he's participated. But right now, he's going to have to fight back after this cool-down lap because Jason McCarthy has gone to the top of the charts as Martin Burrows rounds the hairpin, and Matt Krzyzewski just ahead of him. He's still pushing. He's got some traffic, though, Dave.
And this is the problem. So Matt Krzyzewski, the best he can do is be as quick as he can. But when you've got cars ahead of you, it doesn't matter whether every driver plays their game and keeps out of the way. Inevitably, it does have an impact on your trajectory. And that's not through any driver not playing their part. And you can see there as he got past 2 cars and slid the car beautifully. Oh, I love it, I have to say. The weather conditions for me, I know I'm not out there having to drive that, but I'm loving this quality session.
It's brilliant, and Krzyzewski does better his time. He's now in the 151s as well, but unfortunately it was not good enough to pass Jason McCarthy. So McCarthy holds on to the provisional pole, and again, we have another driver who we're used to seeing on pole position from years past. Well, Dave, this year, it's only been the 1 pole, and that was the last round we had at Road Atlanta. So Jason McCarthy, race winner here last year, looking to try and carry on that momentum as well.
Yeah, he would love to be able to do that, and we will see. But of course, we've still got some 15 and a half minutes to go as we watch the car of Chuck Whittle right now, who, of course, is the best of our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers ahead of Cook and Rothberg. They are P2 and P3 in the chart at the moment. And the best of the Shell drivers, Ray Costa, best of the Shell AM drivers, is now still Lisa Clark, doing a brilliant job here in very, very challenging conditions, Shay.
Yeah, she is. She's got 0.4 of a second over second in class, being Bruce Cleveland. Again, another driver who's just come back from across the pond, both of them. And Chuck Whittle right now on the screen for us. Great job by Chuck to be on provisional pole for Trofeo Pirelli AM in that category. Considering some of the competition he's got, Chuck is doing a fantastic job in mixed conditions. Still relatively new to racing. He's only been in the championship for about 4 seasons now, but Chuck is doing a great job out there.
And Chuck, of course, has had some 3 podiums in the season so far. The top spot has eluded thus far. Could this be the weekend in class? Perhaps that he could be on the top step. We will see.
Oh, but he has just been bettered because Cookie Monster has gone to the top. That's Brian Cook, the Australian driver, who's got to be relishing these conditions as well, has now bettered the time by just under 1/10 of a second. So the track is drying, but the competition is certainly heating up as well.
Something that we've not mentioned that perhaps we should is not only is it difficult for the drivers out there in terms of the track surface that they're finding, and of course it's very, very damp indeed, but of course if you're following a bunch of cars, you've got all that spray being thrown up, which makes your visibility close to 0, which is really hard to navigate as well. So a lot of the incidents that perhaps we saw in the early stages of our qualifying session probably brought about by virtue of the fact that you just could not literally see where you were going.
Yeah, and that's going to play into the race as well, because even if you're on pole, as Justin Rothberg is right now for the Trofeo Pirelli AM category, you're still behind 3 cars. So the spray will be immense going back further and further through the grid. You want to start as far forward as you can. Now, normally the grid is set by classes. I'm not sure what they're going to do here today, Dave, because it will be 1 race with 1 grid, all 37 of the cars out on the circuit at the same time. So we'll have to wait and see what race control decides to do as far as the starting order is concerned.
That's a fair point. Very well made. Jason McCarthy leading, and he's still trying to improve still further. A 151.44. I just wonder, Shay, your experience here, are we perhaps, as the track just comes to the drivers a little bit, is it fair to say we might get a time into the 149s?
Oh, for sure, especially considering the weather radar has a hole that is moving over to the track. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to make it within the next 10 minutes or so, but if that gap in the rain appears, if things start to dry out even more, yeah, we could get our pole time set in the very dying moments of this session.
And that's why it's critical then for the drivers to try and find space and to continue propelling their 408 Challenge Evos around this Montreal circuit then. We keep our eyes on Jason McCarthy for Wide World Ferrari then. He is currently our pole sitter, as you can see, with that 150.144 time. He's still going for it, and let's see, I don't think this is going to be one that troubles because he's had to navigate his way through some traffic around the 4.3 kilometers a lap here. So the Wide World Ferrari driver still doing his level best, but of course with traffic out there, it does make it more difficult. And as he heads towards breaking the timing beam, we will see. But I'm not imagining that this is going to be a better time from Jason McCarthy, who's 150.144. I think is going to stay the same. Just the chicane to do now, and we will see as he see the headlights through the murk and the mire. Yeah, sure enough, he crosses. You see just how much time that took. Very nearly 4 seconds, and much of that can be put down to the fact that he was having to navigate his way past other cars, Shay.
And the good news for him, at least, is that those other cars ahead of him are both Trofeo Pirelli cars. One of them of the AM category is Jeff Nunberg goes for a little ride, misses his braking point at the start of, well, at the end of the lap, which will give him a better run for the start of the next lap if he kept his foot in it, but he didn't. He played very fair there. Hats off to the Ferrari Central New Jersey driver as Justin Rothberg continues to circulate well ahead of Mark Musso in second and Michael Porter in third for the Trofeo Pirelli AM category of cars. But now in Copichel, Frank Szczesniak has taken the point once again. He's grabbed that away from Eric Marsden as here comes David Veronin, third overall.
What a lap. The foreign cars Italia driver has laid the gauntlet down with a 151.204. That's third fastest overall. And of course, it is by some measure, Shay, within class, faster than anybody else by quite a lump.
That is quite spectacular, especially when you consider we're basically on a glorified street track. The walls are not far away. There's not much room for error. So for a driver coming into Ferrari Challenge, his first season, second in the championship, having won both of the races at Road Atlanta last time out, including getting fastest lap in the second one, David Veronin is finding his stride very quickly.
Indeed so, absolutely. He's really taken to the conditions and taken to the track as well. And I think we've seen glimpses of the extraordinary talent that he has over the course of the season so far. And it as you say, accumulated really into a fantastic performance at Road Atlanta. Had so many conversations with the family, the elongated and extended family, the Veronin family, who accompany him everywhere when he's racing. And look how hard he is prepared to go in this qualifying session, diving towards the wall there, which, as you made the very fair point, there's no acres of tarmac runoff here, and you've just got to be prepared to go for it, and Dave Veronin is going for it, Shay.
Oh, he is leaving nothing on the table as he got around Lisa Clark there. Now he finds himself right behind Bruce Cleveland by the looks of it. Again, apologies, the conditions are less than ideal for trying to spot car numbers, but yes, it is the 158 of Bruce Cleveland. So Veronin trying desperately to get around the Shell AM car to try and give himself even more of a gap, as right now he's setting lap times that the Trofeo Pirelli drivers are a bit envious of.
Absolutely. We should mention Dan Cornish and Lisa Clark, who've been having a really nice battle to be P1 in their particular class, and at the moment it is Dan Cornish that's leading that little battle as we look at the Mark Musso car right now. And Mark Musso is further down the order than he would like to be, and is trying to do something about that right now. So Mark Musso for Ferrari of Ontario, Trofeo Pirelli AM driver, and Mark Musso is currently 5th within class and would like to move up the order, and he's doing his level best to do it. And all of a sudden, Shay, as I look at the clock on the top of the screen, we've only got just over 7.5 minutes of this quali session remaining as Justin Rothberg goes to P1 for Ferrari of Palm Beach and splits the Trofeo Pirelli drivers, he being a Pirelli AM driver. It is Matt Kajewski and Roberto Perina who is second fastest, now ahead of Jason McCarthy.
What a lap from Rothberg as well, as we talk about drivers hitting their stride. Well, Justin got 2 pole positions at Road Atlanta, along with the second place in a win, but fastest lap in both of the races. He has had fastest lap in half half of the rounds of the championship this year. Just put that in the back of your mind.
Wow.
As Justin Rothberg clearly not fazed by these conditions at all. And now Jason McCarthy, Martin Burrows, Carlos de Quesada, drivers we were watching earlier and praising for their good drivers, they find themselves further down the charts than they want to be.
You're absolutely right. And you are right on so many things that you say, because I posed the question, are we going to see a lap time into the 49s, thinking it might be a tall order? Blow me. Matt Kwiatkowski has delivered a 1:48.883, so we've got one driver in the 48. Justin Rothberg, one of those in the 49s, and of course, he's trying to improve now as he heads towards the timing line. The traffic means that that prevented his previous best time of 1:49.087 being bettered, but he's going to go for it again.
Rothberg could have as many as 4 more laps in this session, Dave. We've got 6 minutes and 15 seconds to go, and with lap times around 1:50, it's possible. Was that a bit of contact out on track? Matt Dalton just getting helped by Eric Marsden.
There might have been a little assist from Eric there. I'm not sure. I'm not going to call it because I didn't see it quite close enough, but
no,
it was possible.
I don't think it was bump drafting. I think it was all fair.
We were watching Lance Corley there. He's just ahead of the number 55 car, Roberto Perina, who's doing a brilliant job. He's second. Now make that third because Martin Burrows has gone to the top of the chart with a 1:48.643, Shay.
Yes, excellent job by Martin Burrows. As you called him the hometown hero, I will run with that as well. 1:48.6. He's not messing about, but neither are Jason McCarthy or Roberto Perina, as now they have started a race between the two of them to see which one can get the better track position. Right now, Jason McCarthy's reclaimed it. Oh, he almost gets the pole position. 100th of a second behind the lap that Burrows did, and you know that lap was traffic affected.
Wow, this is turning into being an absolutely rip-roaring qualifying session. There is the man that we were waxing lyrical about, Martin Burrows. What a great job he's done. 1:48.643, but he knows that Jason McCarthy is after him by just 100th. And Matt Kwiatkowski is also going to be after him as well. So over the remaining 4 3/4 minutes, unfortunately, Martin can't relax, I would suggest. It's so close.
No relaxing at all, and no relaxing in any of the classes, as Lisa Clark has gone back to the point for the Copichelle AM category. She now holds provisional pole ahead of Dan Cornish and Bruce Cleveland, as there was another mover further down. Who was that? Frank Sesniak back ahead of Eric Marsden.
Yes, there's lots going on. Was that Martin with a hand out of the window? Shay, did you pick that up?
He was giving the hang 10 symbol to the marshals. I love this man, Martin Burrows, appreciating the fact that he is putting on a show for his hometown crowd, and the work is not yet done, but Martin Burrows still taking the time to say thank you.
I know. These racing drivers are incredible, absolutely incredible. And there you can see the
Burrows going into the pit lane.
Yes, it was Martin going straight on as we were looking at the Dylan Medler car. We've not said much about Dylan Medler, to be honest, because he's not where we would expect him to be necessarily, although third fastest. Can he improve? Well, of course he'll say he can, and he's continuing his quest to do that. Dylan Medler, another one of those drivers who I expected to see on the top step of the podium, hasn't made it yet this season. It could all change here, of course, in Canada this weekend, as Martin Burrows presumably now is going to park the car. He's done everything that he feels that he can do. With only 3 minutes of the session remaining, that car will be parked. He will not be going out again, I venture to suggest. So it's down to Jason McCarthy, Dylan Medler and Matt Kwiatkowski to see what they can do. So Jason McCarthy continues to do that by threading himself through as much of the traffic as he possibly can. We've still got just under 3 minutes remaining, Shay. As Matt Kwiatkowski, oh, forgive me, go on, you take the honor of it.
Yeah, Matt Kwiatkowski responds by 2/10 clear of the lap of Martin Burrows. So now let's see, what can Jason McCarthy do? Can he claim a front row starting spot as well?
Well, I just wonder. Of course he can do it. It's finding the time, it's finding the clear tarmac. So we ride, watching Jason McCarthy right now of the Wide World Ferrari. He is currently third fastest. He's been bested by Martin Burrows and also Matt Kwiatkowski. What can Jason McCarthy do? For the moment, I would suggest the track is looking good for him. And he's got the chicane to do now. He's tentatively on the brakes. You have to be oh so careful just to get the car rotated without the back end stepping out, which of course always costs you time. We love to see sideways cars. Has he slowed?
I can't tell. I think he has. He's still moving at a good pace, though. But yes, he's not going to set a fast lap this time around. Maybe he's coming into the pits.
Or is he setting himself up for the next one?
Well, he needs to be careful because Roberto Perena and McCade Wang are not that far behind him. So he is now going to screw up their laps if he backs off too much.
Interesting. What's the strategy going through the Jason McCarthy mind? Here is our current P1 driver, Matt Kojewski, then, who with a margin of some 2/10. Now, 2/10 to you and I is absolutely nothing, but in the world of motor racing, it's a huge margin. And Matt Kojewski, has he done enough? Well, in around about a minute's time, we're going to find out. And you can see right alongside there as they go side by side and almost panel rub with Dave Veronin.
Oof, that was a bit messy through that portion, wasn't it? It was Brian Cook who was on the outside of that little interaction. Both cars managing to continue and not interrupting either lap. Would you believe that if this stays, this is only Matt Kojewski's third pole of the season? I would have lost money on that.
Yeah, I think I would have done too, actually. Yeah, it's a fair point. I'm looking at my chart now. You're absolutely right. You're always blooming right.
That's because I have a cheat sheet, Dave.
Yes. You also have an encyclopedic mind and an awesome ability at remembering things, which, of course, clearly, due to my age, as I reach my 81st year, it's all beginning to fail. Dylan Medler is fourth fastest. Now, let's just run through as we reach the closing stages of this. Matt Kojewski, for the moment, is P1 for Trofeo Pirelli. Justin Rothberg for Pirelli Am. For Coperchel, Frank Szczesniak. And for Coperchel Am, that battle that's been going on between Dan Cornish and Lisa Clark. It's Dan Cornish who's at the top of the chart in that category at the moment. Of course, anyone that is still on a lap now, the lap will still count, Shay.
Yes, and let's see who can better their times, particularly in that Shell Am class. Dan Cornish, Dana Goodwin, Bruce Cleveland, and then Lisa Clark. That's not expecting to stick is to the top. We're in the 47s. Roberto Perena has showed up to play. 147.941. Can Matt Kojewski respond? No, he cannot.
Wow. Now, Roberto Perena then just holding off right until the closing stages of doing that, but now
the time's disappeared.
Yes, it has disappeared, so that might be a track limits issue. So Matt goes back to the top of the chart with Martin Burrows P2, Jason McCarthy P3, Dylan Medler P4. That often happens, doesn't it, Shay, where we see a time right at the top of the chart and then there's some infraction somewhere around the circuit and that lap time gets deleted.
Yes, indeed, but a lap time that has not been deleted is the time for Lisa Clark as she vaults from fourth to first in the Shell Am class. Lisa knew you could do it. Wonderful effort as she claims her first pole position since our third round of the season at Circuit of the Americas. And Lisa Clark, having won 2 out of the opening 3 races, now finds herself in a position she'll be much happier with. Excellent lap by Lisa in the Shell Am class. That is Lisa Clark. In the Shell class, Frank Szczesniak, very much out of order as he sits 8th overall. A phenomenal effort to claim that pole position. And for Frank, that's his second of the season, his first, which came at the second round at Homestead, Miami Speedway earlier this year.
Yes, where he converted that into P2, if memory serves me correctly, when it came to the end of the race. So there you go. I'm just trying to prove that I've got a cheat sheet as well. It's not memory. I can assure you it's not my memory. So, wow, I have to say, Shay, as you and I made our way up to the studio, I was kind of not looking forward to the quali session because I thought the weather was going to impact more than it did. But actually, that was truly awesome, exciting.
It really was. The weather impacted, but it didn't take away. It only added to the spice of this wonderful Ferrari Challenge season we've had so far. Let's take a look at the results before we get too caught up in who's done what, because we do have 4 pole sitters, and none of them are new to that title. Matt Krzyzewski, with the fastest lap of the session as it stood, claims another pole position. That would be his 3rd out of 7 this season. Martin Burrows, great effort. And Carlos de Quesada, chapeau to Carlos, started the session with the spin, finishes in the 3rd position. It's Justin Rothberg with another pole position for the Trofeo Pirelli AM category as well. And as mentioned, Frank Szczesniak and Lisa Clark rounding out our pole sitters for today's race. We still have a qualifying later today, though, Dave, for tomorrow's race.
Indeed so. The next qualifying session that we will see will, as you say, set the grid for the race to come tomorrow. And of course, we still have a qualifying session, as I mentioned, but we also have a race to come today. And that's what that qualifying session was all about, setting the grid for that particular race. And I have to say, I take my hat off to all our drivers, to all our camera crew, and to everybody else as well. Make sure you join us for our 2nd qualifying session ahead of the race a little bit later. From Shay and from myself, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye for now.